I also have a new idea. We got real creative over the last couple of days here. And we all know my routine, which is all part of the joke that I appreciate you guys being a part of, is that if I get sick of something or after the execution, I'm like, it's not that great. Then I just bail on it. There's no announcement. We just sort of let it go. So we don't know where this was going to go. But Cerruti and I were texting back and forth because the stock market, everybody loves talking about that right now. Don't worry. I'm not going to do a ton on the stock market here. But then also the takes that fly around. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I want to come up with a new thing called the Take Stock segment, right? And we're going to listen or observe, I would say mine the airwaves for takes and then assign them a stock price and try to figure out if like the stock price that I just give out arbitrarily, because, there'll be some little backstory to it, whether or not that's like a good buy now because we think that's a take that people are going to start saying more and more, or if it's just like, now you're going to want to get off of that one right now. All right. So before we bring Cerruti in on this, the whole reason that we were doing this is because we were thinking like, all right, Cerruti and I debated a little bit about Doc Rivers as a head coach just last week. And I was like, look, I still think he's a good coach. I understand that resume with the losses in the series, the 3-1 leads that he's blown. There's nothing I can say to you. It's hard for me to win this argument because it's such a devastating run of facts that you have for me, but I still think he's a good coach. And then we have Philly losing this weekend in 7 games and at home to Atlanta. All right. With the blown leads, the entire part of that storyline. So if we were to put a dollar value on the Doc Rivers can't coach take last week, let's just do this. Let's call every stock $1 to $100, no cap. I know that's what some of you want. I don't know that we can do that, or we could just say, all right, because then it starts becoming, hey, that stock's too low and all this different stuff. Maybe there should be no cap. Maybe there should be no $100 max you could have on a price of one of these takes. But if you were to put some sort of price on the value of buying the Doc Rivers can't coach take last week, say it was $20 a share, Cerruti would have cleaned up. All right. Because if I issued it $20 a share, $30 a share, and we used it on some sort of scale, because that's why I think it works a little bit, at least conversationally, not in economic philosophy, where you'd go, all right, well, if it's a scale of 1 to 100 and you're offering shares of Doc Rivers can't coach at $20 a share, I will empty out the checking account for this one. So that's where I think this all kind of started. So I want to propose different takes, throw prices, and debate whether or not those prices are any good. And then we'll revisit it when that take becomes relevant again, or if a new take is found out there.
Yeah, I think what we should do is if, some guy, first take guy comes on, says something crazy, we immediately assign it a value too. Like we need to keep this. This is like a growing, evolving thing. And we have a big list of all the takes and what they're worth. So if, I don't know, Kendrick Perkins goes on first take and says that, Frank Vogel's trash and should be fired, even though there was a bunch of injuries this year, we give that a dollar value. We assign that. It gets on our board and can be publicly traded by the Russillo listeners.
Yeah, right. And I would assign immediately a low value to that because I just don't know that there'd be a ton of value in the Frank Vogel thing can't coach. But sneaky, some people would disagree and be like, you know what? If you're putting $5-10 a share on Frank Vogel can't coach takes, I think there's still enough upside in that stock at that price because Vogel's probably going to get fired at some point anyway because it's the Lakers. Not that he can't coach, but if you're being fired, but then we would start to hear that take more and more. All right. So here's a really good example. Off of the Doc Rivers thing, I'm going to offer out Ben Simmons in the right system takes at $10 a share.
I'm buying that.
It's too low, isn't it?
I'm buying that. Yeah, I am, because I've been a guy who says, can he be a baby Giannis in a similar type system where it's just 4 out, he's the guy with the ball, and he doesn't really have to shoot a ton. I think $10 too low. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is all part of, we're workshopping this out loud. We're involving you, listener. Maybe we just start up a whole new email address here and just start calling them. You know what? Let's not even throw anything out there until it's official, until our tech people have put together some sort of email. But I also don't want to turn this, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it'll become a public forum or not. $10 a share for Ben Simmons is in the right system takes. You're right, Cerruti. It's far too low because there's great upside, because there will be a bunch of guys that are going to argue that once the body's still warm right now for the Ben Simmons murder this past weekend. That was about as bad as I've ever seen it for an NBA player. Like in the heat of those 24 hours, every stat that came up was like the worst stat ever. Everybody's trashing him. This dude needs to be traded. Like, there wasn't even in our industry for not a couple guys that were somewhat prominent to be going, well, here's where you have it all wrong. But let the body cool. Let's get a month removed from it. We're into free agency. Whatever happens towards the draft, end of July, start of stuff in August. I believe there'll be a few people going, hey, you get Ben in the right system, this 5-1 hybrid, all this stuff. You're right. $10 is too low.